What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Crypto Catch Up. Tonight I'm going to be doing a video for you on Kleros, which is quite a nice little platform. So like it says there, it is the blockchain dispute resolution layer. Now what does that mean? Well, Kleros is effectively giving a court or an arbitration system to smart contracts and to blockchains. So of course, one of the biggest issues that people find, and like I did a video on a couple of weeks back, if you haven't seen yet, in relation to smart contracts and more so within Australia, that they are not really smart and they aren't really contracts in a lot of jurisdictions. And because of that, there's a lot of other agreements that need to be written either way, because the smart contract is not smart because of the fact it doesn't have that human behavior like you or I. It doesn't know all the information, and if something was to come up that wasn't actually covered in the contract, there would be no way to actually apply that evidence. Now, oracles, as you may be aware, are helping with external information and pushing that into smart contracts, which is a great thing, but unfortunately, if they are not added at point of contract creation between two parties or more, it's not going to be fed in. That metadata or that outside world, real world information is not going to be passed into that smart contract, making, if something was to go wrong, it's impossible to kind of argue either way who was right or wrong, and to believe in the smart contract. We need another way to dispute that. So a lot of the time at the moment, like I said, they're using some form of written agreement still on top of the smart contract, and the smart contract is effectively just executing it to the point in which it may fail. So like it says Kleros provides a fast, secure and affordable arbitration for virtually everything. So let's jump into the product and the project and see what's going on there. Alright, so it is an Ethereum dApp, so it's built off the Ethereum network, and it's a decision protocol. It effectively gives a court system to any form of dispute resolution that may be needed, as it says below. So it's a third-party arbitrator, and like it says, it enables this multi-purpose court system. Now, it's something which actually has to be opted in by users or jurors in this circumstance. So what it actually is doing is making sure that the people that are adjudicators as such of these particular disputes or cases have opted in. They are a part of that particular court system, as we'll go through shortly, and they could very well be professionals in that area, but also it ensures that you're going to get an outcome because the people are opted in. They've chosen to be selected as a part of this process. Now, it was based off something from Thomas Schelling in 2005, who's a Nobel Prize winner, called the Schelling point system. Now, if you're not aware of what that is, effectively what it is if you were to give a group of people and go, if they were to meet up in New York City somewhere, where would they pick? And it's kind of called this focal point. What would be the focal point that those people will go to? Well, if nobody knew each other, the focal point is something that most people are going to pick. So they might go and pick, a well-known location that everyone would possibly know if they were in that area and go there. So it's basing it off this system because that is what people are going to do. When they're presented this particular format of information, they're going to pick what is most likely to be correct based on the information provided. There's also a Schelling coin, which Vitalik talked about and has built out and written a paper for that you can have a look into. Once again, built off that. It uses game theory incentivization like a lot of projects in the blockchain space. We want to incentivize and decentivize individual parties to make sure they are obviously adhering to particular factors, or obviously they are participating where we need them to participate. Otherwise, we have a utility token like an ERC20 that doesn't really have any value if it's not being used. It enables simple and complex contracts because at the end of the day, it's an arbitrator. It will enable you to fulfill whatever you need to do in your contract, and if something goes astray, you will be able to call upon the Kleros project and their process. It enables an appeals process, and it has an incentive system. So if you do not like the outcome of the dispute, you can appeal it. It does have some factors built into it though. When you do appeal something, there are certain things that are built on top, which we'll go through when we look at the process model on the screen there. It uses a Pinnacle token. Now that is the ticker name. It is actually based out of ancient Greece, whereby the Pinnacle was actually like a bronze, I believe, like plate, and it identified you as an individual in that particular city, and it went into another machine, and you could kind of cast your vote in a way. It fell into this machine, and the people that came out the bottom were the ones who were selected to be the jurors. So it's taken that kind of tack in this way. Now, it does obviously use smart contracts to execute this, and it is built in a multi-language support, so multi-programming languages there. Is there anything else that I need to cover off? No, we'll get into it. There's got to be something else. So why Kleros? So this is a list of where it could be used, and effectively it comes down to wherever there is some form of contract or something taking place that you may need to dispute, we could utilize this. So escrow, if there was a particular, payment that needed to be made or money to be held and something was found to either be not true or somebody needed to dispute such, you could do that through this process. Oracles, so where information needs to be fed back into a smart contract, if people could actually vote on whether or not that information was correctly passed in, we could use that in this instance. Insurance, of course, if you had an automated insurance policy where something was meant to happen at a particular time and, for example, it didn't, we could utilize that. Microtasks, so anything like Airtasker, or where you've, Fiverr as a website where you've paid a freelancer or something like that to do some work for you, but it may not be the way it seems, you can obviously utilize it for this. Curated lists is something like a Ethereum name server. If you have a list of IP addresses or something like that, you want to whitelist some, blacklist others, you can follow that process. And even for decentralized social networks, whereby somebody might have put something up, somebody might be performing a scam on the network, you can build in this Kleros smart contract beforehand to allow people within that network to vote out bad content that obviously could be affecting the community as a whole. Something to keep in mind though, with the Kleros process, it does have to be initiated prior to. So when you actually set up to do an escrow or set up an insurance policy, you need to put in place the Kleros actual agreement. So that includes selecting how many jurors you might need, the time frame, what particular court might be the preferred court in this instance. So let's go down and have a look at those courts and how it can actually be applied. So the general court is the largest of all the courts. However, you might feel that you want your particular dispute looked at by a particular sub-court. Now, that makes sense in terms of if there are professionals in those sub-courts that obviously can assist you. And the way that the system would work is that if they were finding a lot of claims coming through the general court that fit under a particular subtopic, they then would be able to go and create a subcourt for that subtopic. So this is just an example here. So I could be a juror. I could have a pathway of being a general court juror, an e-commerce juror, and my specialty is package delivery because I work in logistics as an example. Obviously, if you were good at air transport or sea transport and you knew a lot about that, you might sign up to be a juror of that. And obviously, in the contract that you set up at the start, like I said before, you might actually choose for your dispute to be handled in the sea transport court if that was to be the case. All right, let's take a look at the process flow just from top to bottom of a generic kind of contract that may be set up for a freelance website. So if we have a look at the Alice and Bob up here, something's happened. because they've set up an agreement prior to, like I said, they've decided how many jurors they want. In this case, it's 3. It's a dispute. It's come into the e-commerce subcourt and into the freelancing subcourt there, because they want it to be handled by professionals in that area who understand websites and everything like that. So like I said, there was 3 jurors, and it says over to the side here, jurors have to actually vote in. So like I said earlier, they need to be a part of the actual system. They are actually, putting up tokens to be a part of this and to be selected. Now there is a random number generator. They are randomly selected. So there is governance mechanisms all through this, but I'm not going to go through those within this video. That is for something for you to read into, but this is just a high level overview. So obviously juror 1, 2, and 3, they vote. Now, what actually happens with the vote here is that as a part of that initial contract that you're setting up, they, or you and the party that is signing the contract, will actually give the options based on particular circumstances. So what the jurors are actually voting on here is for the information that they've been provided. They might be given 1, 2, 3, or 4 different options to select from. They vote on those options, and obviously there is an outcome. Now, Alice is voted as the winner in this circumstance. Does Bob want to appeal it? No, it goes down. Yes. It checks then. Now, like I said earlier, with the appeals process, there are other things that happen. So it checks if there's at least 2 times the jurors plus 1. So what this is going to do is actually start to cost you a lot more as an arbitrator fee, because it's going to double and add 1 extra juror to the process next time to really flatten out those results, to try and obviously make sure we get an outcome for it. The disincentive to this is obviously the fact the more times you appeal, this process continues to happen, whereby it would become so expensive that you simply would not want to appeal that anymore. Now, under Australian law, that is actually illegal. However, it would be very unlikely for somebody to continue along that process because it is something that does become unconscionable in some way, shape, or form. All right. Let's have a look at the team. Now, I will actually make mention, I'll jump back there, guys. I'll make mention, I haven't put anything in on the tech side of things like I normally do, because it is smart contracts that are written. They do have a GitHub that you can contribute to, but there's nothing that I really wanted to call out, or no bold claims that they're making in terms of transactions per second, because that's not what this system is all about. It's a smart contract. That is what Ethereum has delivered to us. They are utilizing it for a purpose, because every other company is trying to utilize smart contracts for something now. This gives it real world value because we have some form of system within the actual cryptocurrency or blockchain ecosystem to look after disputes. All right, so from the team perspective there, they have the founders up the top in terms of Federico and Clement and Nicholas. Now, I've had a look through the profiles. They do have a range of experience in terms of economics, philosophy, and that kind of, I guess, thinking that needs to go behind how you build out a court system in this technology world that we live in, because it's something that you can't just go and do. You need to make sure that you do it right and you do it in a fair manner, but in a way that you can encapsulate as much as possible. The team does seem very young, specifically Sam Vitello, the dApp developer, just recently graduated university from what I can tell from their LinkedIn profile. But that doesn't mean anything, guys. What I want to point out, as always, is that you had teams like Ryblox and Nano, 3 or 4 guys and girls possibly, that did something in silence, and now their project has gone worldwide. You don't have to have the greatest minds in this space specifically to deliver something like this. They are not making crazy bold claims. They are delivering a court system that follows a very simple business process model. And you can see some partnerships down below. So they have partnered with Ink Protocol and Dether to assist their platform, which are both also cryptocurrencies there. And there's a close-up. All right, so let's have a look at the tokenomics. So the token sale is on May 15, so it's 45 odd days away. It's a Pinkian token, PNK for short. 1 million tokens from what I've read will be available. But it will be following not an ICO, it will be one of the first projects to use what is known as an interactive coin offering, which Vitalik and another gentleman actually proposed late 2017 because of all the crowdfunding fiascos that are going on at the point in time. So there's going to be multiple sales round and not just one that's unfair. There's no private sales. It's a fair process because with interactive coin offerings, it actually allows you to contribute and then withdraw it if you don't want to partake in that process anymore. And like I said, multiple sales rounds, so it's not forcing you to buy anything. There's no crazy, large discounts or anything like that. It's trying to make it a fair process for all. So we'll see how that goes for this. Very fitting, obviously, for the fact that it is a dispute resolution kind of protocol there for the Ethereum blockchain. All right, so let's have a look at the final thoughts. So it's a couple of questions you need to ask yourself. Now, like always, guys, not investment advice, but it's great to see projects that are obviously adding value to this space. So does it need or benefit from blockchain technology? Well, yes, it does need blockchain technology because it is assisting smart contracts, which are obviously built upon that. Does it benefit? Yes, it does. Is there a minimum viable product? So currently, that was planned for December 2017. The latest results are that it will be in Q2 2018. So there is a GitHub there, but there is not a product that you can have a look at currently. The marketing's been really good. So they've spoken at Ethereum Foundation events at DevCon and a few other different events and shown their product. The co-founders are active and promoting that in a fair and transparent way. It is not a shill fest. You will probably not see anyone from big names having a look at this project because it's not, all that exciting, but it is something for me who believes in the technology that is worthwhile understanding and having a look at to see how the space is growing. So the idea is great, and I think the community sentiment will definitely grow for this. The roadmap is something that was lacking. I couldn't actually see what was due to be delivered. And like I said, the team experience on the other side of that, would be a question mark for a lot of people. But I please put it out there that you need to give these people a chance in this space. If they're not shilling something and they're not making bold claims, there's a very good chance that they actually believe in what they're doing and they will deliver you a product at the end of the day. What I did write down though is that funds use, there was nothing to talk about that from the token economy side of things, how they'll be utilizing that. KYC and security, once again, that will most likely come forth closer to the token sale. And like I said, just around the fees being so high for appeals processes, if that was to continue and loop around multiple times, it's actually unconscionable because you're trying to charge them so much to not do that. And I understand, obviously, as a user of the network, that that is one way to disincentivize or de-incentivize people from doing that process. However, it will need to be followed up with some legal changes along the way. All right, so that is Kleros, guys. It is a great little project. They're built on Ethereum and definitely will add value moving forward as we see more smart contracts and how complex they are going to get. Like always, guys, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys soon.